All right. What are we at? Episode number 5 now?
Back in action.
We're looking good here. Crazy shit's happened. You know what? Let's go out of order. Let's take Donald Trump first. Man of the year. You surprised?
I will say yes.
Yeah.
I thought like when you win Man of the Year, you're supposed to fucking do something first.
You know, I think the winning the presidency is because he won it in 2016 too. I think
But I would have thought you would win it after like your first year of presidency.
Yeah.
It's kind of gay that, edit that out, Derek.
No, I'm leaving. That's fine.
It's kind of gay that that you win Man of the Year, but we don't even know if you're going to have a good presidential tenure or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just, his election
or person of the year.
Person of the year. There we go. I'm calling him man of the year. I'm going man of the year. His election was so historic that I think it's worthy of it just because we've never elected a felon before. We've never elected I don't think a twice impeached president's
electing
ever
a felon thing is I don't know if that's really something we want to highlight. Not that I agree with this felony. Bad precedent.
Yeah, but you know what I think is good precedent? It's bad precedent if the felonies were justified, but because he totally got railroaded and everybody knows it.
I agree.
I think it's good precedent, man. It really shows that people see right through it. People see right through the bullshit. They see through that he got railroaded. They see through the lawfare that it was totally just the Joe Biden administration trying to get back at him. This was total bullshit the entire time, and the electorate knows it, and that makes me feel really good.
No, I agree. I wouldn't argue that point, but for me, not that I have any idea who the Times Peoples of the Year have been the last couple of years. I want it to give me someone that's fucking done some good.
Yeah.
In the year.
This is what all the leftists bring up, but I'm going to bring it up anyways. Hitler won it.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
He was man of the year probably several times.
Yeah. My point exactly.
I think the leader of ISIS was man of the year once
nice.
too. Allegedly, part of their criteria, morality is not a part of the criteria. It's just whoever had the biggest impact that year. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Give me Elon.
I like Elon.
Year in, year out.
I think it's a good pick, but man, I just think that Trump deserved it this year, man. And then when you're talking about
he hasn't really impacted the year yet.
Surviving the assassination attempt,
maybe the year next year.
I think anybody would have tried to survive that. I'm not claiming that if someone would have died had they been shot in the ear, but I just think everything he's been through this last year and kind of taking his supporters through this last year.
Okay, so if you're winning person of the year for your impact on the world, changing world events.
Yep.
If the assassin killed Trump, would he be person of the year?
You're gonna have to ask the Times editorial board. Time magazine, I should say. This is I may have said New York Times earlier. It's Time magazine's person of the year. So. No, I see where you're coming from, but I don't think they gave it to.
Holy fuck, that'd be one hell of an impact. And that's more impact on the world than Trump winning the election.
Yeah, did they give it to Lee Harvey Oswald? I don't think so.
Maybe they should have. Pretty big impact.
I don't.
Pretty big impact.
Well, he didn't really kill Kennedy, so maybe that's why he didn't win Time Person of the Year. So, yeah, Trump. I mean, he deserved it. I think he didn't get hosed by Time Magazine. I figured maybe they would have just hosed him out of it. Could you imagine the bullshit of them, picking someone like Kamala Harris?
I would say it'd be them digging a hole even more. But I'm very arbitrary about this Person of the Year award.
Yeah.
It's basically means nothing to me.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good segue into moving on to something that actually matters, kind of, I guess. Let's talk about this Daniel Penny guy choked out this guy on the subway. Jordan Neely, who was walking around threatening people.
Give me a Person of the Year. This is a motherfucking Person of the Year.
This guy,
goddamn hero.
This guy, though, he didn't want to do any interviews. He didn't want any publicity. He did not do this. Or I should, obviously he didn't choke that guy out and kill him for the publicity. But even afterwards, when the fame came his way, he hasn't embraced it at all.
Yeah, I feel like he hasn't embraced it like the kid that went viral for shooting those people in the riots.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse. He really embraced it, But this guy, I feel like kind of ex-military. I feel like he did the right thing. He felt like he got fucked, and because he did get fucked.
Yep.
And then, probably just wanted to, be acquitted and go home.
Yeah. And, it really, what the media and these overzealous prosecutors do in these cases is they end up leaving these guys with no choice but to embrace it. Like Kyle Rittenhouse, he can't go get a job somewhere.
Right.
He can't live a normal life anymore. His only option is to embrace his right-wing stardom and then profit off it. That's
I'd say
the only
for
choice
Kyle
he's got.
Rittenhouse, if for him to be able to get a job, just depends on where he's applying. You apply to most of the welding shops in the country. I bet they don't give a fuck. Be an electrician, be a plumber. When you're cleaning toilets, no one gives a fuck what you've done.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But
yeah, maybe you're not going to get the sales job or, the office job or the HR job. You get a job that fucking matters. They don't care.
The New York Times reporter job. Yeah, probably not going to be hiring Kyle Rittenhouse anytime soon.
I love the acquittal. I feel like this guy's a good guy. He was trying to protect his fellow citizens on a train. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a very similar incident, like kind of recently, but the guy that choked out the homeless guy or stabbed the homeless guy was African American, and there was no consequences for him? I saw that on Twitter. Zero idea on how truthful it is.
I don't know. I haven't heard it either. It
was just a Twitter thing. Or...
it wouldn't surprise me, but that there is a separate point here that, I think that Jordan Neely being black and Daniel Penny being white had a big part to play in this.
Well, that's why the other one's not a big deal.
Yeah. But let me point out
this
other discrepancy here. This was in the same district that Trump had all those charges in from Alvin Bragg.
Interesting.
Same prosecutor.
Yeah.
Okay. So this prosecutor, we know, total just partisan hack, right? So anything that has to do with self-defense, he's going to be looking to charge somebody. Remember in New York, it was just earlier this year, they charged an old Puerto Rican man with stabbing somebody who was robbing his convenience store, and I don't think this is the one you're talking about because he wasn't white. He's definitely a Puerto Rican guy.
This was on a train or subway.
Oh, okay.
It was exact same fucking scenario.
No, well, this one, they tried or they did charge this old Puerto Rican guy with murder, manslaughter, and they ended up being pressured into dropping the charges because people were so pissed off about it, as they should have been.
That's kind of like, in what is it, Stockton, when those two Indian gas station clerks went viral for beating the shit out of someone that tried to rob them with broomsticks or something.
I remember that.
And then they got arrested. We're going to go to trial. And then the video went viral and everyone's like, why the fuck did these guys get arrested? And there's just so much public pressure to free these guys that they did.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it works. But this Alvin Bragg prosecutor's such a piece of shit. He just runs on prosecuting these crimes. It's terrible.
So this guy get acquitted by a jury or a judge?
He got acquitted by a jury.
Nice.
So the first charge...
See, there we go.
Yeah, the first charge came back, and there was some bullshittery here, which I'm not a lawyer. I don't claim to be, but he was charged with two crimes here. One was negligent homicide. The other was manslaughter. Manslaughter's worse. The jury deadlocked on manslaughter. And so the judge allowed the prosecution to dismiss the top charge so that then the jury could go back and deliberate on the lesser charge, which is total bullshit. Because the judge is just trying at that point, just going down the list until the jury finds what they're going to convict him on. Total bullshit. Because then what prosecutors can do is they can upcharge all the defendants and then just add these lesser charges underneath. And if judges are just going to strike them down in order, then they might as well overcharge everybody. There's no reason to come up with a charge that actually fits. So that the judge doing that, complete bullshit. This guy should be disbarred. He should not be a judge anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, just a complete piece of shit to do that. And then the jury comes back. The judge at this point's already tried to manufacture a conviction. He sent the jury back, dismissed one of the charges.
So they were deadlocked on it being manslaughter. half of them thought it was, half of them thought it wasn't, or
most people think that one person thought it was.
oh, because it has to be
has to be
unanimous. I gotcha.
So then he sends them back, and then like just a few hours of deliberating later, they come back with not guilty on the lesser charge.
Hey,
makes no sense.
Maybe they played the judge.
Exactly. Something could have happened because they went. This was like Friday afternoon that they dismissed the charge. They go home for the weekend. Then they come back on Monday. They totally could have been on social media, just like seeing everyone call out what bullshit this was.
Right.
Just decided to go back and be like, fuck these guys. You know, this should be over. This is stupid.
You know, if I was the guy's attorney, I would just be like, okay, everyone, let's go on the subway and take a half-hour subway ride next to some homeless people, and you can let me know what you would have done.
Yeah, yeah. And, you can see in the video, there's a black dude helping this Daniel Penny guy. He's holding the homeless guy's arms down, making sure that he can't fight back. And, sorry, some guy comes on the train and is threatening to kill you and all this shit, and people are really afraid for their lives. Fuck him.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Sorry. This guy had like severe mental issues. He should have never been out on the streets. Yeah. That's the government's job, to keep people off the streets like that. That's actually their only job.
100% agree.
Only job is to keep people safe.
Yep.
That's all they have to do is keep these people off the streets. They failed, and then they want to charge the guy because they didn't like the way he did the government's job for him.
I hope that this is just kind of a showcase of how the public is kind of getting away from the wokeness mentality of, everyone's equal. We got to take care of everyone, blah, 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 blah. Which, yeah, I agree. Some of these people really do need our help. Mm-hmm. Some of the problems are totally government supported and taxpayer funded. And, and I think people are starting to get tired of that,
One of the biggest mistakes the right has made as we've allowed the left, the Democratic Party, to take the moral high ground on this issue that it is the compassionate thing to do to let mentally ill people live on the streets.
Yeah, I agree.
Why is that the compassionate thing to do? Why does the left get to point their finger at us and call us a bunch of assholes because we don't want homeless people living out on the streets? That is nuts. The compassionate thing to do is to get these people into some sort of institution where they can be taken care of, not where they're on the streets threatening to kill people and then getting choked out by Marine veterans and dying.
I agree. I mean, I think what we do for mentally ill people in this country is probably not enough or not right or whatever. Because where I went to school in Montana, there was like a kind of a mentally ill hospital, like right where I went duck hunting, actually, ironically. And I mean, it wasn't that big of a building by any means, but there was something. There's not a lot of people there, but it was something, Mm-hmm. But there, if you're mentally ill and you're on the streets, you're gonna die. Winter's too fucking cold.
Yeah. Well, in the later part of the 20th, or in the mid 20th century, early 20th century, we committed people to institutions. They were treated really poorly. We didn't understand, mental health.
Yeah, a little shock therapy and shit.
Yeah. So then there's this huge stigma around mental institutions, and the pendulum's gone the complete other way. What we got to do is bring these institutions back with a modern take on mental health and medicine, and then you're not going to have, and it works both ways, right? So then all the people on the subway get a higher quality of life, right? And then the people who are mentally ill out there on the streets, they get a higher quality of life. They're no longer sleeping out on streets in the cold. They're not getting choked to death in the subway. And then the people that are just the normal everyday citizens going to work so that they can pay the taxes, pay their bills, they're not getting harassed by these folks. Getting your life threatened on the subway is bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. And especially just like when you're around, specifically a homeless person with mental problems, or whether they have mental problems or there's fucking tweaker or whatever, you're just on edge because you don't know, maybe they have a gun, maybe they have a knife, maybe they don't have anything. but maybe they're going to fucking assault you. Maybe they're not, but you're just on edge because shit like this does happen, you know?
Yeah.
Like I saw a video, I think it was in New York. Like some guy was fucking like, I don't know how I can't remember if it was like a blow up pool or like a fucking little kiddie pool or something, but he had it on the train. He's taking a fucking bath in this like kiddie pool, buck ass naked in the middle of the fucking train. I'm like, how do you get the pool set up? How did you get enough water to fill that motherfucker up? What were people watching you set this thing up? Like so many questions, but it's like shit like that shouldn't be happening.
For a level of determination like that, this man could be making minimum wage somewhere. No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. This guy's a problem solver.
He was more innovative than half the people that work for me.
Your point about the other homeless people is important. I think I've told you this story before, but when I went to Davis, I had been on campus and I was walking downtown and I was with Selena, and had I been carrying this day, I probably could have shot and killed this homeless guy, because this dude was like in this alcove. It was dark, and he starts yelling at us and then pulls what I thought was a gun at the time out and pretends like he's shooting us. It turned out not to be a gun. It was fake. But in that moment, totally could have shot and killed that guy. And, then because I'm in some liberal county, been charged with, manslaughter or some bullshit.
That would have gone over well.
But think about how terrible that is, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, so when I see this Daniel Penny guy, he's 26, he's our age. Like,
that's why I refuse to live in some liberal slum where you have the chance of being assaulted by a homeless guy.
Speaking of that, here we go. So nobody told this guy here, which is like on the steps of the courthouse, this BLM activist. No one told him that BLM's over. And that BLM died like 5 minutes before this guy gave this speech. I mean, I think this case really
did like the BLM organization like actually fall apart? Or
So at least in California, the BLM activists that had their organization, they've all been arrested for tax fraud. It's classified, but I'm talking more like as a national movement.
Yeah,
I think that this case
I thought they were trying to like get it going again. Like
they are.
Yeah.
But here you go. So here's this guy. I'll play the video. Here's how he's talking after the Daniel Penny verdict.
Some black vigilantes.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud. How about we do the same when they attempt to oppress us?
Right.
I'm tired.
Well, there you go.
Was there like 2 people in attendance or?
Yeah, it shows 3 people behind him. So
nice.
there's that. I can't imagine there were a lot of people. They would have showed them. But
openly inciting violence. I feel like that. Hello, CIA.
Yeah,
isn't that some type of, or FBI? Is that insert 3-letter agency? Isn't this some type of crime? Well, I feel like if a white guy was saying this, that's immediate arrest.
For sure. Could you imagine a white guy standing up there going, black people kill us? I think it's time we do the same to them. Like, what? Oh my God. Like that. No, definitely inciting violence. This guy should probably be arrested. But, but no how shit. Tone deaf. I mean, he says, they want to kill us for being loud.
Yeah.
Being loud was the problem. No, I think it was threatening to kill the people on the train that was the problem.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think there's that movement, while may have started with the basis of good intentions, has spiraled out of control into just they just don't live in reality. I mean,
it's tax fraud and ambulance chasing at this point. It's it's exactly what, who's the MSNBC host, Reverend Al Sharpton. That's how that guy made all his money. Yeah. Ambulance chasing, man. That's exactly what this Hawk guy is. He just follows all these different people that, have had these tragedies in their life. Like, he's got the dad of this Jordan Neely guy there. You know? In this guy's defense, his son just died. And this Hawk guy is totally taking advantage of this whole situation to try and inflame race relations. It's terrible.
Idolizing these people and making them out to be like a star citizen of the country. Kind of the same thing with the other guy that got choked out,
The George Floyd.
Yeah, George Floyd. Yeah. Not that I probably know more about the George Floyd thing than this guy, the homeless guy. But, because the homeless guy had been arrested before.
A ton of times. They said he'd been arrested.
It was like 30 times or some shit.
I may have been more, I think.
And it's just like,
Violent crimes, too.
I get the picture you guys are trying to portray, but when you have that in the history, what the fuck?
Yeah, assault. He definitely assault.
Number of times I've been arrested, 0.
Yeah.
Is that a normal amount? I'd say so.
Yeah. And if I do get arrested, it's going to be on gun charges or tax evasion.
Yeah.
Not assaulting people and kidnapping and all sorts of bullshit.
I just don't. That. And what kind of cracks me up about Dad is, your son's dead. Is there some guilt there? There probably should be, but this guy's acting like his son was like a model citizen and, and whatnot. And it's like, dude, like you're in the picture now. Like, why weren't you in the picture when your son needed some help?
Sure.
He's fucking homeless,
You're relying on the state to take care of your kid,
right.
And really it's your job as a father.
Yeah.
100%.
I agree. 100%. I mean, and maybe he now feels guilty about it. Maybe he's seeking some public attention. But at the end of the day, I kind of like, you abandoned your son. This is also on you.
For sure. No, and then this father had to be kicked out of the courthouse after the verdict read. And I don't know. This verdict to me was a no-brainer.
Yeah,
come on.
Sure.
Like, did people really think that this guy should have to go to jail for what? Defending himself and other people on the train after they had been threatened to be killed? Like, are you serious?
It's horseshit that it got this far.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Absolutely. It's only because that prosecutor is a partisan hack is the way it got there. Only because Alvin Bragg is a piece of shit and should be disbarred too. He should never be allowed to practice law again. That this happened. It's his fault.
And it's just setting a bad precedent for people to not protect themselves.
Sure. And I blame Alvin Bragg even more, actually. I'm just going to keep going on the Alvin Bragg train here because, I blame Alvin Bragg for Jordan Neely being dead too, because that guy probably should have been in jail. The only reason that he was allowed back on the streets is because Alvin Bragg has decided that they are going to downgrade all of these violent felonies down to misdemeanors so that these guys can get right back out on the streets, keep terrorizing people, get right back on the subway, keep terrorizing people. If they don't want these criminals on the street getting killed by law-abiding citizens, then put them in fucking jail where they belong.
Well, and that's the irony to me is, they're letting, whether it's homeless people or the third world illegal immigrants, come in here, rape people, fucking murder people or whatever, let them walk, minimal jail time, if any jail time, no bail. And then you have, an ex-military guy who served his country, doing the right thing, in fear of his life and other people's lives. And he's the one that's going to go to jail. Yeah. I don't know if it's the same district or not or what, but that's fucking bogus. And to me, that's why people are fleeing these liberal states and these liberal areas. Like you could get out of there fucking fast enough.
It's a perfect microcosm of the Democratic Party in this moment because you've got a city run by Democrats that's been neglected, a justice system completely ruined by Democrats. And then what you've got is people who are fed up with it that then take action, okay? A white and a black person. See, this Daniel Penny guy and whatever the guy's name was that helped Daniel Penny restrain him, they didn't see race at all. This black guy helping Daniel Penny did not look at this and think, this is racially motivated. Otherwise, he wouldn't have helped. The black lady that testified on Daniel Penny's behalf didn't think this was racial at all. The normal people don't, right?
Right.
So the working folks are all on the subway. The Democrats let the mentally ill people out of the institutions. They let them out of jail, even though they're violent. This situation happens. What do? Try and convict the good working people.
Which
that's why they're locked out of power right now.
And I'd say, for the most part, probably 80 or 90% of the average country citizens have way more in common, and I bet their views are way more similar than they would think, you know? But it's because of shit like that, or, just because, 80, 90% of people in that scenario, they're doing the same thing.
Yep. For sure.
So I think there's more in common, with the average citizen, average voter than a lot of people give him credit for. It's just like there's such this divide. Actually, Brandon Smith sent me this thing the other day. It was about, he sent me a picture of the Orland historical book, like the 100-year book. He's like, and he was talking about I think he said something about how it would have been cool to be here, in World War II, or it was either World War I or World War II, when we're sending Orland was coming together to send rations to the war or something. And I was kind of not that there's a lot of downsides to living 100 years ago, for sure. But one of the pros would have been how together not only your community is, but probably how you felt as a state and a country. I feel like there's a lot more national pride, probably a lot more state pride, and that we just don't have.
Yep.
And that would have been cool to not only see, but to be a part of.
Yep. It's been politicians have figured out that it is a lot easier to win when you keep pushing wedge issues.
Yeah. Same thing with media. You get more views when you're feeding
Divided,
into people's fears or whatever, you know.
Yep. Well, let's switch gears over to the United Health CEO. I heard that you support the release of the would-be assassin because of his looks. Is that true?
Well, I have seen a blurry mugshot of this guy, or blurry fucking camera footage of this guy. So, sure. I just love, correct me if my facts are wrong here, but this guy gets arrested in McDonald's, right?
Yep.
And he's just carrying with him the murder weapon and a fucking written agenda and or something else too. And, and that's not weird to anyone else, I
think he wanted to be caught. I think he's somebody that, is a sociopath.
That's not as conspiracy theories I like.
No, we can, I don't know. Has this guy even come out and said he didn't do it?
I don't know. Because, I saw something about that. When he goes on, because isn't he going to go on trial on Monday or something? Or
he'll probably have a hearing. It won't be a trial.
Yeah. It was kind of I think there's Vegas odds on if he's going to plead guilty or not.
I'd go, yeah. I mean, I'm not real conspiratorial about this one just because there's no, why? There's no.
Right.
There's no, pardon the pun, smoking gun here.
Yeah. To me, it's just, I'd like to know his backstory. Was there, I don't know if they found when I died, this is why I did it letter, Yeah,
it was the manifesto, I guess, which usually describes why they do it.
Right.
So,
right.
He did. I think there's no question he did it. And
I just want to know if it was just he worked for this healthcare company, or he was a victim, they wouldn't insure him for something, or wouldn't insure a family member. Or?
So here's what we know so far is that he is 26 or 27 years old. He's roughly our age. He went to an Ivy League school. He went to UPenn. And then somewhere along the line, after graduating or right at the end of his college career, he broke his back and had a pretty severe back surgery. And there's some posts on his social media that, people are gleaning this from, because it's some posts of him hiking and then an X-ray where it shows all the pins and rods in his back. And so people are assuming this is what happened, but he dropped off the radar. His mom reported him missing 4 months ago.
Damn.
People couldn't get a hold of him. Then the next thing you know, he's arrested for this assassination.
Yeah, where he just has a boggling debt of fucking, or medical debt, some or endless fucking number.
It's probably something he got got injured, had surgery. His insurance either
denied
him some sort of care, maybe some sort of a medication to help with the pain.
Right.
He endured some sort of hardship that he blames the insurance company for.
Yeah, I get that.
So
that's for one of my dad's surgeries. they recommended that he get the surgery at Stanford, liver surgery. They really recommended Stanford's the best. Go to Stanford.
Sure. Makes
Insurance
sense.
wouldn't cover it, and it's like, and he ended up being in the hospital. This is he went to UCSF. No fault to UCSF at all. Surgery went well. It was just his body didn't really recover that well from it. So, but it was just like, what if something had happened? Had he been at Stanford,
Sure.
Things would have went differently.
Sure.
And it's just because they didn't take that insurance there.
Sure.
That's kind of horseshit.
Sure. No, it's it's kind of an interesting event that happened here.
Which I guess is like, is the CEO of the company at fault? He's just a product of the system, but he's a figurehead of the system. So yes,
this is an interesting event here.
33% at fault.
Yeah, I don't put a whole lot on the healthcare companies themselves, actually. And it's funny because the leftists are cheering this on, and like the right-wing populists are cheering this on. And I think most people in the middle are kind of like, I don't know. This probably isn't something to celebrate.
Yeah.
Because
if I had to guess,
blame the government so much for this.
CEO of some fucking health insurance company, not someone I would get along with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably a fucking slime ball.
Hey, I don't know. I didn't know this guy.
Yeah. I'm just going off my general hatred of corporations.
Yeah. I hear you, but I don't know. I kind of hope this guy, if he did it, he pleads guilty, I hope they throw the book at him and put him in prison.
Oh, does he deserve it? Yeah. I hope, not, I guess, am I saying we should go around capping all the healthcare CEOs? Maybe. Should
in Minecraft.
Yeah. But should you not face any consequences for doing so? No, you should.
Yeah. I just think that the government has screwed healthcare up in this country so bad, even before Obamacare, but Obamacare especially. So much of our healthcare system is just government subsidized.
I agree.
If I'm going to blame anybody for our healthcare system, it's going to be lawmakers.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you whatsoever on that. I mean, I totally agree. I'm not saying our healthcare system by any means is a perfect system, and it's really not. And it's kind of like, does anyone actually really have a good healthcare system? Like, I don't know, because you just hear like, I guess maybe like Sweden or Norway or something, but it's kind of like you pay high taxes and who cares?
All those socialist countries
Yeah.
in the north, they're ethno states. You can't compare them to the United States. They're just not. They're not comparable.
Elite.
No, that's not what I said. That is not what I said. I said they're ethno states. I mean, and really, realistically, Japan's the same way. Like, you just can't compare these countries to the United States.
What type of healthcare system does China have? India.
Yeah, not one you want. We're not going to be modeling anything we have off of what they do.
Do you think we should switch over to like a Canadian self-help suicide booth healthcare system?
They've got government provided healthcare, and they swear by it. And I don't know. I don't want it. I would rather. Here's what I'd rather we do.
Well,
we should cut all of the government regulation except for transparency. Everything, all hospital prices, all of the insurance prices, everything should have to be posted online.
Yeah, I agree.
Easy to find.
I agree.
Super transparent. There should be an open marketplace for these things.
Yeah.
No more convoluted bullshit health insurance rates. No more, we can't tell you how much the surgery costs until you get it done. That's a bunch of crap.
I think there should be some type of cap on what they can charge for like the drugs and stuff and the supplies, a cap on the markup, you know what I mean? And, cause I don't know but I mean, I've seen some of my dad's hospital bills, and we're talking, he's had many bills over $500,000. And they do come with an itemized breakdown. And I've kind of looked at it, but I haven't really looked at it super hard. So I'm not sure where it's coming from, But I think he said the last surgery he had at Davis in the hospital for like 24 hours maybe 36 hours, $250,000 bill.
Yeah. It's criminal.
Yeah. And the doctor that did his surgery probably did 2 more of those surgeries that day, or maybe 3. It was a pretty quick procedure. So my dad's guess, he's probably does, when he does that procedure, he probably does 3 or 4 of them a day, 250, $1 million in a day. That ain't bad.
It's
for
criminal.
4 people.
It's criminal. The patent laws and everything are pretty tricky, and I think we should just do a full healthcare episode actually, because it's I understand.
I feel like the problem with the healthcare thing is my complete lack of knowledge about it.
The patent thing's tough though, because if you put a cap on how much people can profit off of the drugs that they patent, you're just not going to have companies researching drugs anymore.
Right.
So what I think you got to do is you got to have kind of a time horizon. Like after 5 years, a 20% markup. So, or just make the patents expire quicker so that they have to go on the market and compete.
No, I think I get what you're saying.
Just as good.
Yeah. But, when your markup's 10,000%.
Yeah.
That's not cool either,
Yep. But the only reason that they can charge that 10,000% markup is because the insurances will pay for it.
Right.
And so I think it all goes back to how the insurance companies are regulated and how the hospitals are regulated.
Yeah.
Like that 10,000% markup should never be paid to begin with. Then they won't charge a 10,000% markup if nobody will pay that.
Right. No, I agree.
If we had an actual open marketplace of insurances and drugs, all those kind of things, you wouldn't have those markups anymore.
I feel like it's just so complex, and there's no perfect solution, because I think our government couldn't handle a healthcare like how Canada has a government ran healthcare system. Mm-hmm. I feel like it would just be a disaster in the U.S., whether it's because there's too many people or we have more corruptness or whatever, I feel like it just too much bureaucracy.
If you look at any problem where the government's involved and your solution is the government needs to be more involved, you should take a step back and reconsider what you're thinking here.
Now, maybe if the Doge department got involved, we might be onto something.
Man,
because I do love, I do hope, Elon was tweeting. It was something, I think he said like 80 or 90% of government workers, like government office workers, don't spend 40 hours a week in the office.
Oh yeah.
Which I have several family members that are current and or ex government office workers, and I can vouch that none of them go to the office for 40 hours a week, and they like that ever since the Kung Flu.
Yep.
And they really like that as an aspect of their jobs. And I was always kind of been like, there's no fucking way you're getting the same amount of stuff done hanging out at your house as you have if you're in the office. So fuck you, go to work,
Yep.
Kind of same thing with, I have some friends that are engineers for a company in Idaho, private company that pretty much only works on government contracted jobs, mainly nuclear and nuclear waste, nuclear reactors. And they all have different schedules because they all work for different departments. One guy works 3 days a week in the office, 2 days at home, loves it, doesn't do shit 2 days at home. Another guy works 4 days a week, or I think a couple of the other ones do 4 days a week in the office, 1 day a week at home. But, we're there for a wedding, hanging out at my friend's house. One of his wives was
One of his wives.
Oh, yeah. His wife was...
He's not Mormon.
Not in Utah. We were in Idaho. His wife was on like a conference call, but she was like waiting for someone to show up to the call. She was on the clock, getting paid, fucking beer off to the side of the Zoom call, waiting for this person to show up, basically hanging out with us, And I'm like, this is a fucking get Elon in here. Make these motherfuckers go to work, Yep. And which is ironic is my one buddy that works 3 days a week in the office, 2 days a week at home. or 2 days a week at home. He at one point was very like self-motivated, like wouldn't allow himself to slack or anything, blah, blah, blah. Then he kind of got this job. It's just been a gradual decline. He's just fucking coasting, it's kind of working like a prevailing wage job, depending on who you talk to. I know a lot of people that work prevailing wage jobs in California. You make twice as much money, and the expectations are anywhere from half to 75% of what you do on a private job.
For sure.
And that's the flaw.
For sure. No, I think Vivek said this, and he said it best. You can work from home all you like, just not for the federal government.
Yeah.
I like it.
I totally agree. And I didn't know this, but, Elon offering like a 2-year severance package, for anyone that gets fired, I think is, a lot more than I'd give him, but it's tough to fucking complain with, I was kind of curious if he did that with the Twitter employees that, on the massive fucking Twitter exodus. I don't know.
He may have had to, they could have had contracts that had severance in there. So you never know. I'm sure every employee was different.
Right.
But, I think that my expectations for Doge, I call it Doge. I'm going with Doge, baby. My expectations for Doge, they're tempered. I don't think that we're going to see the changes we want to, but I love that it's the direction we're going. That is the right direction. And that's what matters right now as we trend this way. People are behind it. I think it was a big part of the election, to be honest with you. I think people really are sick and tired of how much government waste there is.
Yeah.
Whether you're going to the DMV, Caltrans, whatever. Sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm of the opinion that, not that this would ever happen, but we need to get some type of law that if you're president, a House member or a Senate member, and during at any point in any fiscal year of your term, if we're in a deficit, if we had a spending deficit that year, you're no longer eligible for reelection.
Yep.
Bottom line.
I like it. I like it.
Until we operate in a, at least a reasonable fucking deficit,
I think that's the Charlie Munger proposition. Is either Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett or someone.
I think it might have been Warren Buffett.
One of those guys had come up with that, and I really like it. It gets the incentives going the right way.
Right. You want your job? Well, you're going to have to start doing it, son.
And it makes it sort of like the private sector. Like, sorry, if you operate a company at a loss for years and years and years, a company that should be profit. Let's say a company where you're allowed to hold people at gunpoint and steal their money, and you're still operating at a deficit.
Right.
You don't deserve a job anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just so, I feel like that's one of the reasons for the, civil unrest that we have in this country is you just see this, in the age of social media, it's just becoming more and more obvious as we go on. Just the fucking government fuck you-ness to the average system or average citizen. It's like corruption, political corruption, government spending,
How about just the obvious lies? Like when the Secret Service woman came out after the Trump assassination attempt, and it was like, we couldn't get on the roof because it was too sloped. It's just like, okay, you should never have a job again.
Right.
You should go and you should be flipping burgers at McDonald's.
Well, how the fuck did they get the roof on that building?
Yeah.
How do roofers do their job every day?
Or the Epstein thing's the other one for me. Well, okay, Epstein, did you guys put him on suicide watch like you should have? Yeah, kind of. There were supposed to be guards there. Okay, well, what'd they say happened? Well, they fell asleep. Okay, cool, no problem. Let's check the cameras. Oh, the cameras weren't working.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So you're just saying fuck us. You think we're stupid and that we don't know what goes on. Okay, fine. Whatever. Fuck
you. With the client list, it's just like, okay, we arrested Epstein. We arrested the other lady. And we didn't arrest anyone that partook? Question mark?
Yeah.
Yep.
How lazy the government's become in lying to us. They don't even try. They don't even try to give us good lies. I mean,
but there's nothing
it's just
there's no it's not like 100 years ago where you can get together with everyone, go storm the fucking White House and have a prayer of actually doing something about it. I mean, it's kind of like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Even if we did have a January 6th type event, where you wanted to overthrow the president or whatever, really they just need to bring in fucking one chopper with a container of ammo, and your unrest is over.
Here's what we can do. We could stop paying taxes.
Yeah. You're talking my type of language.
We don't have to do
I've already
anything
said,
violent.
Glenn County should be secede. I'm so curious. And I know we've talked about this before on what we as citizens pay of Glenn County pay in taxes versus what we need.
The household income at Glenn County is very low.
Right.
I would imagine,
but we'd have some of these farmers are paying quite a bit of property tax. I don't know.
If I had to hazard a guess, you probably have one resident of San Francisco paying more in taxes than all of Glenn County.
Yeah, that's fair.
Fair. I would bet
But
it's
I
not
feel
as much
like-
as you think.
No, I just wonder how close we'd be. Or maybe if it was like, everything north of Sacramento, excluding the Bay, like, could we do it? Like, would we be, I'm not saying we'd be.
Would we be solvent?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's good. We'd spend a lot less.
We'd
So
have
there's
to,
that.
might have to cut down some building department officials, but you know what? I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I think, there's a good, I shouldn't say there's a good chance. There's not a good chance. There is a chance we come up with a solution here where we get, Speaker Johnson, where we get, I think Senator Majority Leader Thune is now in charge, Trump and Doug, all pushing the same way where they actually severely cut the size of federal government. I'm not saying that's likely. That's probably not going to happen. But the closest we're going to get is success there.
Right, right.
If we really cut like a large chunk out and we're really determined to do it, this is the time it's going to be possible.
Yeah, and I think, what would be tough is, I feel like, just because Trump's not going to get reelected again, so, it's like...
Yeah, cut the government down.
Yeah.
Do it.
Where are you're going to piss some people off, Oh, well.
And I think so much of the money, too, and I think the federal government, it's only like 19% is payroll or something like that. I think that's including defense payroll, but so much of it's grants and just crap like that. Just cut it all. No more. Foreign aid to countries that hate us, gone.
Yeah.
Like I was just looking, and this may be a good segue into Syria. Because their government just fell, we paid millions and millions of dollars every year to this like Lebanese military and to Syrian officials. We had not to the Syrian government directly. We had sanctions on them, but we were spending millions bribing people in Syria, the CIA, all that kind of shit. And just no more for those people.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I feel like it's easy to point the finger at, overemployment of government officials and making up these government departments that we don't need, which, hey, maybe we cut, it's 20% of the payroll, but maybe we cut, 10% of that down. I'll take it as a win.
Sure.
But I totally think the foreign aid / military defense budget is also same problem, and
cut it all down.
Yeah. I think at least with the defense budget, I think there's so much corruption in the military industrial complex. And I know this because we are theoretically part of it.
Nice.
So
you're part of the corruption or the military industrial complex?
I would put us as
both.
part of the military industrial complex
Okay.
as the low man on the totem pole.
Oh, okay.
We're the guy that actually doesn't make any money as part of the system. Because why do we not make any money? Because we're the ones actually fucking making the stuff.
There you go. Actually doing the work.
So, and I've talked to our customer about this before because he's like, yeah, you guys they source the material, they send it to us. We make the part. We send it back to them. They package it. They send it to the next guy who sends it to the next guy who sends it to the next guy who sends it to the next guy who sells it to the military. Like what this guy told me, he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm kind of on the bottom of the totem pole. I'm like, oh yeah, motherfucker, who's below you? Me.
Yeah.
Because all he does is take my price, double it, and fucking move on, And that's what the next guy does. The next guy does. But he's told me, he's like, I've been in parts of deals where it's got 4 or 5 more stops to go before that part makes it to his home, and that's fucked up.
Mm-hmm. It's all going to Boeing so they can.
Yeah. But
by the way, too, if anyone wants to buy stuff from you, you make the emergency doors for Boeing, right?
Yeah.
The ones that fly off the planes.
those real emergency doors. Well, that's what happens when you implement a DEI and your employee force, and your quality standards start slacking.
How's your DEI programs going?
Booming.
Yeah, I can imagine. You got anything else for the people before we wrap this up?
You say that, but we have employed a transgender before.
There you go. See, I knew you were a good guy. That's why your guys' plane doors are falling off.
Yeah. we had too much DEI.
Gotta cut that down. All right. Well, I thought we'd talk about Syria for a minute, but it is what it is. The government fell. Some rebels took it over. They're a bunch of jihadists. It's pretty much Al-Qaeda.
My complete lack of knowledge, up until 30 minutes ago, knowing nothing about the Syria government falling. I guess if it doesn't make it in my Twitter feed, I just don't see it,
Long story short, we spent a lot of time, a lot of money there, like millions of dollars trying to overthrow the Assad regime.
I'm sure it's more than millions. I'd put a B in front of that.
It's possible. I mean, it's not like the Pentagon's passed an audit for us to know.
Right.
So all this, money disappears. We want to overthrow this guy. His name's Assad. He's a dictator there. He's kind of a piece of shit.
So we are kind of in favor of this uprisal.
See, that's a great question. It's always so simple in the Middle East, right? So we had this dictator that we didn't like,
and now we have another dictator we don't like.
So get this. You're not even. It sounds like parody, but I'm gonna throw it out because this is really what happened. So there's a dictator, and he was a secular dictator. I mean, he wasn't religious. But there was civil war going on there for like 10 years, brutal civil war. He killed like a lot of people because he ruled with an iron fist, that kind of shit. Not a good guy. Assad, not good. So we decided we'd back the rebels to overthrow him, right? So the rebels were this group that you may have heard of before. They're called Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
So we gave them a bunch of money and weapons and shit, and now they took over Syria. So now these jihadists run the country.
I'm sure we somehow found a way to fund both sides of it. Sure. While it was happening. Apparently,
and this is not just me, there are a lot of different factions in Syria. So apparently some like CIA-backed rebels were fighting some like Pentagon-backed rebels.
I saw something about this the other day.
But it's true. It was a meme, but that was legitimately true. That CIA had given some money to one group and Pentagon had given some to the other, and they were fighting.
The missiles flying at each other from like 2 different cities, and it was like had USA on both missiles or some fucking shit,
Yeah, my tax money and somehow also my tax money. Yeah. No, we legitimately backed Al-Qaeda, and it had been like 5 years or something since we'd given weapons to any of these groups. We just kind of decided to sanction the Assad regime, whatever. Right. And they were back. The Assad regime was backed by Russia and Iran and a lot of our enemies, but. Which is the main reason we probably really oppose them. But now a bunch of extreme jihadists run the place. So it's got to be better, right? Of course. Well,
I guess you trade, shit in the pan for shit in the pot. But that just means we can keep funding more rebellion.
Yeah, you can't make it up. There's not let's say you could just fly to Syria right now and walk around. I'm not sure you would meet one group of people that you're like, oh yeah, these guys should be in charge. It's not like there's just this like group of industry leaders who are being repressed by these jihadis. I mean, come on, man.
I feel like my just total disconnect for some of these countries is like, it was kind of like when the war in Ukraine started and they're posting all these videos about Ukraine. And I'm like, wow, Ukraine was a lot more civilized. I think that's not some third world. They're just a normal fucking country. And I like when I hear Syria, like I just don't even know what to think. Like I just there's just zero visual image in my head of the structure of the country, the landscape of the country. I got nothing.
It's exactly what you would imagine a very poor Middle Eastern country that's been at civil war for 10 years looks like.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the realization I was coming to.
Yeah, I've never been to Damascus or Aleppo or anything like that, but they're not on my vacation list.
Not yet.
To be honest with you.
You said you'd rather go there than Iceland.
Maybe we'll see. Maybe Al-Qaeda will do maybe Al-Qaeda will run Iceland in a few years and then we can go.
Yeah, I don't think Iceland's on the as pro of illegal immigration as some of these countries are.
Yeah.
What are your controversial thoughts on Mohammed being the number one baby name in England this year?
Man, we should do a whole nother episode just on it. Western leaders have decided that they were going to destroy the culture of their own countries by importing millions of people from like the poorest most war-torn parts of the world. And to be honest, I think it's treason. I think if they decided to charge the people that were allowing, these millions of people to be brought into these countries with treason, I'd support it. Maybe not hanging them for treason, but I could do some jail time, man, for sure.
I'm not opposed to good old fashioned road hanging. What happened to heads on spikes?
I think that leaders would care a lot more about their countries if they knew that was the
they sure as hell care about the consequences of their decisions.
If they knew that was the stakes, they might figure it out a little better. But they've destroyed England. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's France. I don't know what other European countries have had it, because Germany's kind of kicking back against it, right?
Yeah. Yep. Germany is on the cusp of electing like the most right wing government they've had in. And wasn't it like
Norway's kind of on like let some illegal immigrants in, and now they're like, this is not fun.
Yeah, I mean, and technically, I think it's not even illegal immigration. I think it's just immigration.
Yeah, but they're
allowing it.
Yeah,
it's legal.
Yeah, but now they're like regretting it.
Yeah, it's
how can we get rid of these guys but still be PC?
Yeah, I think that their leaders destroyed
you do
their
what
culture.
Martha's Vineyard does, and you put them on a bus and you ship them somewhere else.
Yeah. Yep. Thank God the Atlantic Ocean is a lot wider than the English Channel.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot tougher.
So I've had this conversation before with some of Kelsey's family members in Wyoming. It's kind of interesting because, they're favorite running joke is making fun of California, which fair enough. We're fair game for the jokes. But I'm like, you guys are part of the problem for our homeless problem, because you guys just ship all your homeless people to us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fucked up,
Yep. Wyoming's another place. It's not great to be homeless in the winter.
No. But the reason I say that is because there's a big thing in it was either Bozeman or Billings, like the fucking mayor just started buying all the homeless people bus tickets to Seattle and San Francisco. It's like, I don't want you. I think it was Bozeman because Bozeman's kind of a boom town,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just like, we got to get these people out of our downtown area. We're trucking them out, and it wasn't like we're going to send you to Seattle if you want. It's like, you're going to Seattle.
Yeah.
Get on the fucking bus.
I'm all for it, but instead of Seattle or San Francisco, Mexico City.
See, I was going to say, what's it called? Down by Bakersfield, like 29 Palms, but the desert there.
Death Valley.
Yeah, Death Valley.
Yep, 29 stumps, baby.
Yeah, build a nice homeless encampment there and have at it.
I know. I'm. If Mexico wants to send millions of people here, we should send our homeless people there. I think it's only fair.
What happened with did the ballot measure to approve prison labor again go through, or are we still?
That passed by a lot.
Fuck yeah.
Like, it passed by so much that like Newsom did a press conference about like how appalled he was at Californians over it. Oh yeah.
Good.
Like, I think we knew that night that it was going to be passed.
Fuck yeah.
And the funniest thing about it was there was no opposition to it.
Yeah.
Like, not one party even listed themselves as opponents to this. Californians still like 60 something percent are like, no, we want slavery.
Nice.
Keep the slavery for the prisoners.
Hey, I wouldn't even call it slavery. I'd call it You made your choice. Now we get to decide what's done with you.
Yeah. You're right.
But
it's
you know
not
what?
a great
I'll say
term.
this: if I was a prisoner serving 5 to a kabillion years of my life away in some fucking jail cell, and they're like, you can go in the mountains and clear some brush, I'd be like, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
We'll pay you $1 a day.
Yeah.
Fuck. I'll pay you $1 a day to get out of this shithole.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, you can stand back over here in the showers with your roommate,
Right.
or
Right.
you could come out here.
Because
and
I'm not saying everyone in the prison wants to go work the chain gang in the forest, but I'm sure there's some people, like,
yeah. I don't think you should have a choice.
yeah, me
I think
neither.
you should all have
What
to go.
I think is they should kind of get some guys on some horses with some lever action 30-30s and some revolvers, give them a crew of like 20 guys, and start working on this forest brush clearing.
Yep.
And you start running, we start shooting.
There you go. There you go. I like it. Well, you got anything else? I know we touched on a couple crazy quick topics there at the end. We did a little rapid fire round.
Let's clear some brush with some prisoners and save my forest.
Let's do it. Don't burn down our goddamn forest anymore. It's not climate change. It's that you don't ever clear the forest, you jackasses.
Get rid of the Beatles.